Great. Thank you. My name is Jay Rosenthal. I'm the co-founder and president of the Business of Cannabis. It's great to be here today with Toby Gordon Smith. The UK CBD market is an extremely exciting space with a recent report from the CMC sizing the market at £690 million. One of the brands that is turning heads with consumers and retailers and me alike is Grass & Co., who have developed a unique approach of blending CBD with other botanical and vitamin ingredients to provide a range of premium products with absolutely beautiful packaging, wonderful flavors and scents. They've also have retail listings in Selfridges, Ocado, Amazon, and now launching into Holland and Barrett. This is a business with an established growth platform, which we'll talk about, and well placed to scale up and take a leading position in the UK and markets beyond the UK as well. I'm proud to be joined by Toby Gordon Smith, who's a CEO with a really strong background and track record in consulting and consumer goods businesses, and has built a blue chip team, which we'll hear about, to support an exciting growth trajectory. Toby, thanks for being here.
Hi, Jay. Thanks so much for speaking with you today.
Well, it's going to be great. And if I'm correct, you're going to give us a little bit of a presentation, then we'll come back for some Q&A at the end of it. Are you ready for that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll try and keep the presentation quite quick, and then we can spend a lot of time on Q&A.
Great. Go do it.
Great. Thanks very much, everyone. As Jay said, the UK is a hugely exciting market. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about the market size because I figure that the audience here at Prohibition Partners is going to be pretty well educated on the size and excitement of the UK CBD market. What I will tell you about is a little bit about Grass & Co., how I think we're a little bit different, and what is exciting about kind of the opportunity that we see ahead of us. So if we go to the next slide. So just quickly to introduce kind of where we are in terms of how we have established this brand. We very much started out with looking at the more established markets in North America and Israel and other places around the world, and took a very kind of data-driven approach to looking at how to build a brand here. And ultimately, it's because what we were clear about wanting to do is bring the wonders of this CBD and cannabis more generally to the beneficial properties of it to a wider mainstream audience. So we really wanted to understand about how consumers see it, and particularly how to bring it to a market where you are going to be reasonably restricted in terms of how you can talk about it. So what we started with is a very principle of having a very strong brand, building a great product range, and we've now established some great retail relationships, which gives us a great platform for growth. In terms of how we've done that, if we can move on to the next slide. So when you look at these more established markets, it's very clear from the data that you can see that the three main reasons that people are using CBD are for pain, anxiety, and insomnia. And again, I imagine this is quite an educated audience, so I'm sure that won't be news to people. What we did is we developed these sub-ranges, ease, calm, rest, to play against those opportunities. And where we can't really talk about what CBD does, what we do is we use these botanicals that we blend with a CBD oil to help signpost those usage occasions. So people are familiar with the roles that turmeric and ginger can play in anti-inflammatory properties, and similarly ashwagandha and chamomile in terms of their calming properties. Hops and lavender in terms of your grandmother used to hang bunches of lavender over your cot to help you sleep at night. So we're all familiar with these properties. So we use these as a way of kind of signposting these usage occasions for consumers. We also then use vitamins to give actually a claimable level of vitamins, again, that are tuned into each of those need states. And apart from anything else, it helps us support kind of general health claims, because under European law and European laws that even post-Brexit the UK are continuing to adopt, in order to be able to even make a general health claim, you have to be able to make a specific health claim, and that specific health claim has to be one that is registered on the EFSA Health Claim Register. So we're able to do that because of the vitamins we're including in our products, and that it enables us to support general health claims behind the products. We then make sure that these products have really great flavors. And I mean, again, as many people will know, the best way to absorb the CBD oil is to hold the oil in your mouth for for around 90 seconds. We want that to be a pleasant experience for our customers, because there are some oils that I've tasted in my time in this role that I wouldn't want to have in my mouth for 1 second, let alone 90. So we work hard to make those flavors really acceptable to consumers. So next slide. The next thing we do that I think is a little bit different is we're trying to build a ritual around those consumer experiences. So if you're somebody who is struggling with insomnia, then obviously the CBD oils are going to help you kind of get into a restful state before you go to bed. But we also have other topical CBD products that again have different botanical blends that can help with that restfulness. We have pillow sprays and bath salts and other products that fit into the range. Now, those products don't have CBD in them because, why would you spray CBD onto your pillowcase, or indeed, from the bath salt perspective, why would you throw CBD into 80 to 70 to 80 liters of bath water? It's frankly insane from my perspective. We have these products in our range because they fit together with that whole botanical and that whole aromatherapy kind of opportunity, and we build this ritual around this sense of whether it's insomnia, anxiety, or pain. So next slide. So the team that as Jay mentioned, the team that I'm setting up here, from my perspective, my background is a combination of consulting and consumer goods. I've spent a lot of time building consumer businesses like this, and that is absolutely in my bloodstream and my passion. From a consulting perspective, I spent time at Bain & Company, and from an industry perspective, I spent about 5 years at Diageo and 7.5 years building out Glanbia's performance nutrition division internationally. I'm building my team with some real blue chip talent. So for instance, I've got a marketing director who has spent time at L'Oreal, GSK, Rude Health. I have a creative director who was behind the design of the Curve brand. And in terms of how I'm building out this team, I am looking for those very strong blue chip talent so that we can present very professionally to our customers and consumers alike. Next slide. And that is also supported by a pretty strong board. I highlight my two co-founders here, Ben Grass, Sasha Serafimowski. They both will be floating around this virtual conference, so please do reach out to them to network into the business. But we also have very strong entrepreneurs and angel investors on the board. We've got Paul Carter, who has a background in senior management in GSK and other life science companies. We have Gavin Sathanathan, who is a very strong, incredible kind of cannabis entrepreneur. Next slide, please. So the exciting news for us, obviously we have a direct-to-consumer business that has been growing and growing pretty well through the COVID era, with strong online growth. But on top of that, we've got these great national account relationships. We launched with Selfridges a while ago in 2019, but we're recently now launching with Ocado, with Revital, with Amazon, and we'll be in store with Holland & Barrett in June this year. Now, Holland & Barrett is the UK's #1 CBD retailer at the moment, so it's a really exciting step up for us and for the brand. But it also it takes this business to a different dimension in terms of previous investment rounds. We've been talking about investors coming on board on a journey, and we've got an idea to help us bring it to bring it to reality. I think we're now in a position where we've proven that idea, that the idea is real, and these retail relationships really help us to become an established business, and for the story to be much more around scale up investment rather than startup investment. Next slide, please. we've got a very strong kind of marketing background and quite a lot of stuff that as many people will be aware, there's a lot of restrictions around how you market around the CBD category. The approach that I've taken is to create quite a adaptable but very professional internal marketing capability, which enables us to really kind of go and push the boundaries and stretch into new areas. And when we find areas that really work for the brand, then we can double down and invest into those areas. So some of the areas we've worked quite well in terms of paid search, digital media, etc. I mean, one area that I think around influencer marketing that's worked very well for us is in terms of kind of stretching that into kind of sponsored podcasts. And for us, we find that these relationships, they only really work, and there is a fine line between what works very well and what doesn't work at all. And the difference is when you find somebody who can talk really credibly about having a very strong relationship with a brand that is genuinely coming from their heart, rather than what can be a very transactional relationship with influence, which is, I think, that consumers can see through in this day and age. So where you have that strong, very authentic relationship, that comes through in spades and can be very powerful. Next slide, please. So I think the story that we have here, and obviously there's plenty more content and plenty more detail behind every bit of this, which I would be delighted to talk to people in more detail about. But ultimately, what I think are selling here is a very strong professional team, really credible and valuable retail listings, and a great brand that consumers love, and is proven to be one that can really scale up into this growing and exciting market. So thank you very much. Jay, let's move to the Q&A, shall we?
Yeah, I'd love that. And thank you for all that, because I think it paints a great picture of where you are, where you've been, where you are, where you're going. And I want to start where you just finished, and then we'll go to a whole other series of questions, but about products consumers love. Because I think and I don't know if you've described this sort of internally as this, but like there are consumers, they have limited attention, they want this product, but there's lots of other products vying for their attention, both in store, direct to consumer, all of those things. Like, how do you think about, and what has been the response from consumers who are buying this product, whether they're buying it direct or buying it at one of the sort of other opportunities? What has been the response from those customers, and how does that influence where you are going in the future?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, I think, if I start, so the value of having a direct-to-consumer business, it means that you do have that direct connection with your consumers. And I think when we set up the business and set up the brand, we were thinking about what our target consumer should be and which way are we going to go with the brand. And we kind of made that very kind of conscious decision to go for, in terms of what we target directly. I mean, obviously we like to be inclusive, but in terms of what we're targeting, we tend to target a kind of an older female consumer, and really looking for that person who is very influential within their community, within their family unit. And we were, I guess, recognized that consumer is going to be a lot more difficult to find than perhaps a millennial consumer that might be more tapped into digital media and things. So we recognize that might be a more difficult consumer to find, but when you find them, we thought that we'd be able to establish much stronger loyalty with that consumer, and that tends to be kind of proving to be true. I mean, I think if you go after that millennial consumer, they're easier to get, but I think you're more likely to find that they're going to be portfolio consumers that will easily shop around across different brands, and so the loyalty might not quite be there. I think the other thing that is absolutely fundamental to what we do, and this kind of goes back to my kind of decade of sports nutrition experience. I saw that category go through a transition where almost it started with a very niche category, basically kind of supplementing the lifestyle of these big bodybuilders and gym goers. And for them, it was almost a rite of passage that these sports nutrition products it didn't necessarily taste good, or didn't have a great mouthfeel, but actually that's what you have to go through in order to get this protein into your body. And I saw the category go from that to brands coming in and saying, why shouldn't these products taste good? Of course they should taste good. And that was the only way that the category went from being kind of niche to exploding in the way that it did. And we started right from that on day one. Why should these products not taste good? Why should these products not have the most amazing kind of sensual aromas and scents around them? Why should they not be kind of top quality premium products? Yes, just because they've got CBD, just because they've got cannabis derivatives in them, that doesn't mean that people should have to put up with a bad taste or a bad kind of customer experience. So we absolutely went out there saying, look, yes, this has got CBD in it, but this should be an easy choice for you to make between other products you might already be using in your life or in your daily rituals, and using this that'll fit in a really pleasant and a really enjoyable way.
Yeah, when you described your presentation, I'm in Canada. Some of the oils that I tasted in the lead up to legalization, even still, it's good that they put them in pill form eventually, because they just tasted awful. And then one company said, peppermint, not a bad carrying oil. People liked it. And it was like, well, it was almost as if the obvious things seemed really challenging. Like, no, make it taste good, make it smell good, put it, and you were talking about put in functional ingredients that people understand, and as a way to both deal with the regulations, but also sort of adjacencies that people are familiar with. And actually, that leads to the next question, because you talked about it in the framework of like what a consumer wants and understands, but also as a guidepost, as you said, but also the regulatory environment calls for it, right? The idea that you need to sort of be compliant. Talk a little bit about sort of where the regulatory environment is now and how you think it's going to be evolving, in the next year or 5.
Yeah, so I guess in the UK market, certainly we're lucky in terms of the approach that the UK FSA has taken towards CBD. So I'm sure there's lots of talk still there has been since we started out here around novel foods and what that means for the industry and how it's going to be implemented across different categories. And again, I spent a decade in sports nutrition. Novel foods was not novel to me. We used to play around with novel food ingredients all the time in sports nutrition. So I was very familiar with how that regulation works and how it should play out. Now, how it should play out and how it has played out are very different things, and almost we need to be grateful to the flexibility that the FSA has shown in terms of allowing this UK CBD market to continue to flourish, rather than what they could easily have done, which is just ended it a couple of years ago. However, look, it's still challenging. The FSA is still wading through a whole load of novel food applications. We met the deadline as many other suppliers, I'm sure, did, and not just the March deadline, but the 6 weeks before the end of March deadline, to allow for the 2 weeks of admin, followed by the 1 month of validation. And we, like many other brands, are still waiting to hear what the FSA have to say about that. Now, again, we're hugely confident that the brand has been set up on a fundamental base of quality ingredients, things that we can really stand behind, and from a regulatory point of view, which we accepted that the regulatory line was going to be fairly blurry, and we wanted to make sure we were going to stay on the right line of that, albeit blurry line. So we're very comfortable that we've set the brand up right. We're comfortable that we've done everything that we need to do to get novel food validation. And ultimately, look, we celebrate this move. I think everyone will be aware that there are plenty of cowboys operating in a market like this that is high growth, so exciting, and ultimately new. There's a lot of people who will try to cut corners and try to make a quick buck. That's not our game. We're in this for the long term. We're in this for building long-term consumer relationships, and ultimately long-term shareholder value. So So look, but we embrace the fact that there is increasing clarity in these regulations, and that they're going to be policed in a way that creates a level playing field for all of the people who are doing it right, which certainly we are, and plenty of other brands are too.
Yeah, I want to sort of, I don't know if it's zooming out or zooming in, but talking about how this relates to Brexit, right? Because the company sort of spans, I guess, both sides of that. Like, what has it been a good thing for the industry and for Grass & Co, or a bad thing? I guess I don't know if it's so simple as that. But what do you think about that related to sort of the UK CBD market versus what's happening in the rest of Europe?
I mean, yeah. So look, I mean, in many ways, our company at the moment is largely UK focused. So Brexit on the whole has not been a massive challenge for us. But that said, we have had supply chain challenges. So there's not much cultivation of CBD that's going on in the UK at the moment for various reasons. So our suppliers are importing from other markets, be they European or the US, and Brexit has undoubtedly had an impact on that. Brexit has also had, I mean, it's the strangest of impacts on things like cardboard. So cartons for our outer packaging has been really difficult to come by. It has been challenging. It's one of those things that feels like it's been a pretty big shot in the foot for the UK economy in terms of the complexities that we seem to be adding into everything. And I think so. I mean, I guess the flip side of that is that it has allowed the FSA to take a very different approach to the European Union from a regulatory standpoint. But I think they had the power and the ability to do that anyway, even without Brexit. So yeah, I mean, we have had supply chain problems that we've had to overcome because of this, and ultimately, so an opportunity for separation of regulation, but an opportunity that I think was there anyway. What has happened though is the FSA are now kind of on their own in terms of having to replicate a novel foods processing problem that the European Union are going to have to do themselves as well. So you're just doubling up the workload, possibly unnecessarily.
Yeah, there was in your presentation there was something that really struck me, and it was. Obviously, the products are on shelves in store. The products are available direct to consumer, but the rest of it, sort of the full complement of like experiential things that go along with the product, right? The eye shades for sleep, like the whole suite of things that become a consumer's experience directly interacting with the brand. And I don't know if there was like all of you sat around a table with all of your varied backgrounds and said, we want to give people the full experience of what this product is, and the deeper that connection is, the more they will, be connected to the brand. But I just think in an era where marketing is so challenging, the regulations are so challenging, like the thinking about it, there are ancillary or side-by-side products that people will want as well. I want to obviously it's a great strategy. I want to sort of think about how that came to life, because I think it is really a very compelling positioning of the company.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think the way we approach it, I mean, I've got a very strong consumer goods background, having worked with Diageo, Glanbia, etc. But also a lot of the consulting that I've done has tended to have a very consumer focused approach. And again, my marketing director, again, L'Oreal, GSK, Rude Health, etc. And a lot of the other people in the team from those kind of solid backgrounds, and we're used to developing products that have consumer insight at their heart, and that's certainly the approach that we've taken in terms of building this product. We think about the ritual, the life of the consumer that is using our consumable oils, but what else is going on in their life? How else are they dealing with what it is that they're dealing with? I mean, I think it's in some ways goes in contrast against some companies who just think about themselves as if you think about yourself as a CBD company and that's it, and you're throwing CBD into every format that you think it'll stick in, then I think you're missing a trick, because you're throwing things at a consumer that they're just not going to understand and be able to piece together. You know, when I see stands where there's kind of, you know, brightly coloured vape products on one side and then these kind of high-end skin creams on the other, and I can't imagine a retail environment where those two products sit side by side, let alone a consumer that's going to want to use both of those products. So, you know, we try to put the consumer at the heart of everything that we do, and we try to think about, you know, what is going to be, you know, in their ritual and their lifestyle ritual that they're trying to develop around, you know, what it is they're trying to address. What role do we want to play as a brand in that? And that's what defines the product range that we build.
Yeah. Last question, because in your presentation, you talked about the difference between startup financing and scale-up financing. And I want to talk a little bit about that, because thinking from your perspective at your company, like, what would make the perfect investor from your perspective right now?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, I think we're at the stage now where we're talking about kind of institutional investors, whereas previously it would have been, you know, high net worths and family offices. And I think what you know, ultimately, when I think about the challenges ahead, the challenges are, you know, let's get ourselves really heavily established in the UK market, and then let's start thinking about which other markets we continue to grow into from a direct investment perspective. Now, obviously, in the background, we're also growing out from an international distributor approach. So we have that export market strategy developing already. So anyone who can really come in and help with that is very attractive to us. So I mean, I think there are kind of almost two buckets that could be really attractive to us. One would be, you know, somebody coming in with a strong kind of cannabis focus and maybe upstream assets that can be very beneficial to us in the future. The other can be, you know, a much more kind of traditional FMCG, you know, venture kind of fund player for whom, you know, I think we present, you know, quite an exciting, you know, category growth story, but also a very strong brand within that category growth story.
Well, I really, I learned a lot. I appreciate it. I love the brand, love the positioning, enjoyed talking to you. So Toby Gordon Smith, thank you for being part of this. And we look forward to connecting with you down the road and at other events just like this.
Jay, thanks very much indeed. It's been a great pleasure talking to you.
Great. Thanks.
Cheers.